Greetings and welcome to AARP Indiana's first Caregiver Weeklies event of 2023. Caregiver Weeklies is a weekly virtual event series that provides access to caregiving experts and resources from across the state of Indiana throughout the month of November, which is National Family Caregiving Month. We hope the information and insights shared will help in your personal caregiving journeys. I'm Vicki Small. I'm a member of AARP Indiana's Evansville volunteer team and statewide legislative team. I'm joined today by Brenda Johnson, member of AARP Indiana's Indianapolis volunteer team, who will be facilitating today's event with our guests. A few housekeeping items to note before we kick off the program. If there are topics you hope to learn more about during today's program, please enter them in the chat. In addition, throughout the program, use chat to submit your questions. We will do our best to address as many topics and questions as possible. I want to remind everyone that the Caregiver Weekly's virtual events occur every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central throughout November. This month, you will hear about area agencies on aging and their services, AARP's Prepare to Care Guide and Home Fit Guide, and hear from the State of Indiana's Division on Aging about changes coming to long-term care in the Hoosier State. You can register for these upcoming events at www.aarp.org/in. Again, that's www.aarp.org/in. Today we are joined by Douglas DeClue, attorney at law with DeClue Law Offices, LLC, based in Beech Grove, Indiana. Douglas DeClue is a 2006 graduate of the Indiana University School of Law, Indianapolis. He received his undergraduate degree, Bachelor of Science, from Western Illinois University in 2003. Mr. DeClue has been engaged in private practice since 2006 in the areas of estate planning, elder law, estate administration, guardianship, special needs planning, and residential real estate. He is a member of the National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys, NAELA, and is licensed to practice law in Illinois and Indiana. In 2013, Mr. DeClue opened his own practice, DeClue Law Offices, which is located in Beech Grove, Indiana, with a special focus on elder law. Without further delay, I want to hand it over to Brenda to kick us off. Brenda.
Hello, Douglas.
Hello.
Hi, we are so excited to have you join us today. I'm going to start off with a question that may seem a little bit basic, but it is, what do estate planning and elder law attorneys do? And what's the connection with caregiving?
Great question. And Halloween's over, so hopefully this won't be too scary. Estate planning attorneys help people plan for death and disability. The connection to caregivers is when we're focused on estate planning, we're talking about wills, trust, power of attorney documents, living wills, and really developing a care team for that individual. And part of that care or support team is going to be those caregivers. So very often when one of my clients has a downturn in health, that is who I will be working with directly, are those trusted caregivers.
Got it. And you mentioned a few of the key documents that a caregiver should prepare and ensure they have access to. Why are they important?
They're extremely important. All of us, we should be making our own plans. We don't want the state to decide who gets our stuff when we pass. Every family, every individual is unique. So it's very important that you work with a trusted counselor to talk about things like your family dynamics, your financial situation, your estate planning goals. So those are the documents, the legal documents that we use to develop those plans and to make sure that if there is disability, someone you trust, someone that knows you, will be there to help you out.
Well, that's really helpful. Are there any tools that you would recommend that caregiving clients utilize to stay organized and just keep track of all the important documents and information that they need to provide care?
Yeah. I've never been a caregiver myself. I count myself as one of those tools. But just very practical things. We have our phones on us all the time. So having a way to take good notes, include dates. So when the doctor is providing you information, you want to make sure you have a way to stay organized, because caregiving is a very stressful, difficult thing to do. Things in the house. So baby monitors. If you're providing care to someone who might have the tendency to get up in the middle of the night and wander off, look for motion sensors, cameras. So really it's just trying to make sure that you have those tools in place to help you do your job, because it's very often a full-time job. So organization is key. So whether it's a binder where you keep everything or an app on your phone, really it's organization and having the proper things in the house to help you out.
Yeah, that's really helpful, Douglas. I think one of the things that people, think about when they're trying to decide whether or not they need to engage an attorney like yourself is the cost. And just as a ballpark, can you give us an approximate cost of estate planning, elder care, law services, and will the cost fluctuate? So if you're in one part of Indiana, is it going to cost more? Or if you're somewhere else, is there a different cost? Are there market size differences?
Yes, and everybody's favorite answer, all of this really just depends. Costs can be anywhere from a few $100s to do a basic estate plan to several thousands of dollars. But it really is just a key to find an attorney that you trust to talk to. I offer free consultations, which I think helps my clients a lot, or helps develop that relationship that I think is essential to do good planning for my clients. So ask about that. Some attorneys offer free consultations, some do not, but certainly the cost can vary widely just depending on what your particular needs are.
That's good to know, because at what point, or I don't know, in the whole caregiving journey, at what point should a caregiver reach out to an attorney like yourself to assist with this whole process?
Really, the sooner the better. There's not a bad time, but absolutely the sooner the better. Hopefully there's not an emergency. So sooner the better. And I often call those just peace of mind meetings. I'll meet with the family saying, hey, my dad's health has been declining. He's been having trouble remembering things. Is that silly for us to come in and just have a meeting? And the answer is absolutely not. We'll come in, we'll talk about it, we'll look at those legal documents, the wills, the power of attorney documents, make sure they're up to date, make sure they still reflect what my client needs, and then talk about those issues that we all spend probably a whole lot of time worrying about. What happens? Are we going to lose the house if we need Medicaid? I usually find that after those meetings that they say, why didn't we do this sooner? So stop worrying, make those appointments, and usually you get a little peace of mind from those meetings.
It sounds like earlier is better, doesn't it?
Yeah, yes, absolutely, earlier.
Okay. When you were answering, you mentioned Medicaid. And so one of the things that I've been wondering about is, how does Medicaid play into estate planning? Like, are there facility or at-home care options available to people who don't want to or can't make the transition to Medicaid? How does it fit into all of this?
It's a difficult question to answer, but Medicaid, is a government program. It's sort of a safety net program, but it very much is necessary because of some of the faults in our healthcare or health insurance industry. Not many of us can afford, long-term skilled nursing care that costs $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 a month. So I have a lot of meetings where we talk about what is Medicaid? How do we get qualified for it? A caregiver or a caregiver spouse should not have to go into financial ruin providing care to a loved one. Okay, so Medicaid is a program that allows us to get some assistance, some financial assistance for that skilled nursing care that might be needed. Now, Medicaid usually or typically provides that assistance in a skilled nursing facility. There is also, however, a community-based program called the Medicaid Waiver Program. So in certain situations, this is a detailed conversation, but we can provide those Medicaid benefits in the home. If Medicaid just isn't appropriate or we can't meet those qualification criteria through planning, then there are other options. Indiana has something called the Choice Program, which I'd encourage anyone watching this to know about their local area agency on aging at AAA around here in Indianapolis. That's called SACOA. So they have a lot of resources for people where they can help caregivers become connected to services that might provide them some assistance short of Medicaid. And then certainly there's private companies who can provide assistance in the home. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Oh, it does. I mean, I think there's so much for someone to think about that I just wonder, just in general, what kind of advice would you give to a family member who's preparing to take on the job of full-time caregiver for their parent or loved one? It sounds like connecting with these agencies would be one of them. Are there others? Other pieces of
yes.
advice?
The advice is really there's a lot of ways to answer that, I guess. Patience. Being a caregiver, like I said, I've not been a caregiver, but I hear a lot from the people in my life who are caregivers and from a lot of my clients. And it absolutely demands a lot of patience. You might have to answer the same question 10 different times. So patience is certainly one requirement. And then knowing when your loved one is at their best. So, having an understanding of how medication affects your loved one, what are the side effects, when are they at their best? So a lot of times I'm scheduling meetings for clients and I'll ask that question. Well, when is dad sort of at his best? Is it in the morning? Or is the morning a bad time? Because, for whatever reason. So it's sort of having that understanding of how drugs interact. There's a lot of challenges to being a caregiver. So you do need to, that's extra reason to assemble a team, because you absolutely cannot do it on your own. You want to have a trusted attorney. You want to have friends who can help, and, prepare to be disappointed, because, friends and siblings, they might not understand the stresses of it. So look for support groups. You just really need to make sure you don't put too much on yourself. And if you have a bad day as a caregiver, you need to be able to forgive yourself and move forward.
I agree with that, Douglas. I've been a long distance caregiver myself, and you do have to be patient. And I think while people mean well, unless they're doing it, it's tough for them to really relate to. One of the things that came up during my personal caregiving journey was someone who started to show signs of dementia. And what is there that a caregiver needs to know about how to handle managing everything for a loved one who might not be 100% coherent at the time? Like you were saying, what's their best time is one thing, but maybe they're starting to show signs of dementia. How do you handle managing everything for a loved one in that situation?
That obviously can be a challenge, and that probably is where patience becomes even more essential. Mm-hmm. Obviously, involve their doctors. You know, that can help in certain situations. Um, Providing in you know, again, knowing how drugs are affecting your loved one, what those, you know, looking out for certain side effects. So you really need to do kind of a lot of homework. And then something I didn't mention before is because of all of the, you know, how much you're being asked to do as a caregiver, you need to also reach out for help. And that includes just very simple things like having somebody come mow the lawn. If you have the financial resources to hire help to clean the house, mow the lawn, run errands, that is really just crucial to having the mental energy that you need to be the best caregiver for your loved one.
Wow. Great advice. Thank you for that. You know, in this webinar, we have caregivers from all over the state of Indiana at this virtual event. And where can our guests find a good estate planning elder law attorney that best meets their needs? Are there organizations?
The best one I can recommend is the National Academy for Elder Law Attorneys, abbreviated as NAELA. If you go to that website, again, National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys, they have a find attorney locator. You plug in your zip code and it will show you which attorneys are part of that organization. I do think it's important to distinguish between an attorney who, not just, but who calls themselves an estate planning attorney versus an attorney who focuses on elder law. So the National Academy of Elder Law Attorney is a wonderful resource. Those really are the attorneys that are devoted to this particular legal area of practice. Outside of that, it's word of mouth. You know, ask your friends. You might have friends that have gone through something similar. If you go to church, if you know, just ask around people that you trust. Hey, have you used an attorney? Tell me about it. So word of mouth is you can never go wrong with that.
Right. That is kind of the best way to go, I think, too, because now you know from somewhere, someone you trust versus an ad on television or on the internet. When caregivers need more information about estate planning and general elder law matters, the association you just mentioned sounds like a great resource, and I'd like for you to mention that again, as well as any other, you know, any other ideas you might have, you know, asking others like you just mentioned.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's no substitution for, you know, actually meeting with an attorney. So, you know, Google can sometimes get us in trouble when we try to look up, you know, how to solve a legal problem. I cannot fix my car by, you know, Googling, you know, a knocking engine. I'm going to get myself into trouble. So really, there's no substitution to finding that attorney that you trust. So, you know, again, National Academy of Elder Law Attorneys is a nice resource to get you started. And let's see here. Elder Law Answers is a website that can provide some kind of helpful information. And, you know, that's just sort of again, devoted to elder law, elder care, but that can be a good resource. And then I thought I would also take just the opportunity to plug, you know, AARPs, the information that they, you know, you have on your website for specifically dedicated to caregivers. So please, you know, provide that to the people watching this video, because that is a wonderful resource. I mentioned before the local area agencies on aging, they have terrific resources. Again, around here, it's SACOA. You can go there and they have a caregiver resource guide, just like AARP does. And, you know, sometimes facilities make recommendations as well, but yeah, that's the best I can answer that, I think.
That's a terrific answer. And by the way, while you were talking, the links to those organizations are in the chat now. So
magic.
All of our
okay.
virtual, yeah, magic, right? All of our virtual attendees will be able to see those. And right. So I do have time for questions from the chat. And right now, it doesn't look like we have like we have any additional questions. You've done a fabulous job.
I usually talk too much. I'm sorry.
No, you're the lawyer who said just enough. No, you've done a fabulous job of, really educating us on this topic. And I think with the, with the resources that we have in the chat, that our virtual audience will be able to really get the information that they need. So for now, with no additional questions, I just want to thank you for your time, Douglas, and your expertise and everything that you've been able to share with us today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So again, thank you, Douglas. I found this very, very helpful. And thank you, Brenda, for facilitating. We appreciate your taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us. And if you enjoyed today's program, please spread the word by sharing the event series with your networks, either by word of mouth or on your social media channels. You can find more information at www.aarp.org/in. Thank you and have a great rest of the week.